Welcome to Wise Take DFS podcast, MLB preview. I am your host, Patio Joe. I'm back. You can follow me on Twitter, Patio Joe Ref. And I'm joined here tonight by the Wise Take regular, the OG. Seems like it's baseball season again. Paulie with the big 8Ds at Twitter. What's going on, my man?
Not much, bro. This is awesome. Talking MLB with Patio Joe, like one of my favorite things. I miss this time, and it is right around the corner. I'm super pumped, and like MLB free agency like took a slumber, most of the off season, and it's like happening now, like right as we're about to start. So there's like a lot of stuff happening, getting you back into the baseball mode. A lot of big changes. I'm excited to talk about it with you, and this means we're a little bit closer to opening day.
Yeah, it's we got about, let's see here. It's about the preseason games or the spring training games actually start Friday, like full time on Friday. We got a few games tomorrow where they're playing college teams playing, like the Red Sox playing. But Friday they start up, and then March 29th. It's on a Thursday this year, nation. So it's like a full 15 games day one, like right out of the gate. Everybody's playing on Thursday. I love that idea. It's a weekend series, so Thursday is going to be awesome. Starting all day for opening day. They usually start it on a Monday or a Sunday night.
Sunday night, yeah.
So they're doing it on Thursdays, and it's starting in March, so it's a little bit earlier. And I think it's gonna be cool. I'm looking forward to it. It's a little bit different because usually they'll have like kind of like a split schedule and stuff like that. So I'm excited. It's this baseball season coming up. Obviously, life is pretty crazy for me right now. Those of you in the nation or out in the chat that don't know, I got about 26 days until my wife delivers twins. So I am trying to do as much baseball research as I can now and get ready for the season. Yeah. But we're here.
Being a Dodgers fan, man, are you looking to make it back this year, or are you like a little nervous? Like, what's your thoughts from a Dodgers fan perspective?
My thing about the Dodgers this year is I think they need to get another pitcher. I think the Rays are just selling everybody. I think what do you want on Chris Archer? What do you want for Chris Archer? Let's go after him. You get Chris Archer. They got this rookie that they're really relying on, guy by the name of Walker Buehler.
He's going to be a starter?
Yeah, he's going to be a starter. They're going to try and make him a starter. So if he produces like they say, and Julio Urias comes back later on in the season from his like shoulder reconstructive surgery that he had, which is always a question mark. So we'll see. But, you got Cody Bellinger another year. You have Seager another year older. You got Kershaw another year. JT Turner's back. You got Puig if he keeps improving. And then I think here is the wild card. And everybody thinks that the Dodgers are going to trade this guy before the season starts. But he's down 40 pounds. Matt Kemp. He's down 40 pounds from last year. They say he's in the best shape of his career. And everybody knows he was an MVP. He should have won the MVP the year that Braun won it when he was juiced up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if he comes back and is the good Matt Kemp, that's just a diamond that could really, really catapult the Dodgers. You just got to try and find a place for him to play. You got to think. You got Bellinger now has got first base all locked up. You probably have Chris Taylor playing. He could be playing second. They fade Utley, but Utley's not going to play every day. You got Seager playing short, and then you got Turner playing third. Outfield, you got Puig, you got Jock, you got Kemp, and then you got in left. You can either put the other one. You got Andrew Toles,
Enrique,
and Kike. So they're pretty deep.
Mm-hmm.
I know Alex Wood. Somebody in the chat says Alex Wood definitely needs to continue going. And, maybe Ryu or Kenta Maeda has got to pitch better. But they got the best closer in the game in Kenley Jansen. So
bold statement.
I don't know who's better than him right now. You can't say anybody's better than him. You could say somebody's as good, but I mean, Kenley Jansen the last 2 years has just been nails. Yep. Yeah, Forsythe. That's right. Forsythe playing second. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Forsythe.
You guys last year, I remember, had like a versus a right-handed pitcher lineup and versus a left-handed pitcher lineup. You know, and like 2 years ago, the one versus the lefty was like, Dodgers struggled versus lefties, but that's gone now. You guys are very balanced. Kemp's really the only addition you made, but you guys had the most wins in baseball last year. You didn't need to do a ton of changing. You just, need to stay healthy. Kershaw was hurt most of the year last year, like pitchers like Rich Hill. And then let these younger guys continue to improve, like Seager and Bellinger. And, I really like Chris Taylor. Like he finally got a chance to play and prove what he can do. But
yeah, I mean,
I think it's going to be a good year for you guys, for sure.
You got Forsythe playing second. I mean, there's just going to be a logjam. So something's going to give. Somebody's going to get traded. I wouldn't even be surprised if it was Puig. Even though he played better, I think if somebody will give something for him, but the Dodgers did very little. Now that's not flipping over. Let's going out east to your guys who I think that they did just a little bit this offseason in your Yankees. So talk to me about, I mean, the rich get richer just now. They got Drury. And somebody said on Twitter, I started laughing. They go, I'm just salivating at the thought of Judge Drury.
Yeah, I saw that fun. I've been a Yankees fan for a long time now. And last year's season was just awesome as a fan because it was all homegrown. No one thought the Yankees were going to do that well.
Unexpected. That's the thing. Unexpected.
Yeah. And we came on as a young team, with some of our star players either moving on, and they weren't stars, but like Teixeira was gone, A-Rod was gone, and like it was supposed to be a down year. And, all these young players just emerged, and it was, we almost made it to the World Series, just shy. And, they went out and made some moves in this offseason, strengthened our team, bringing over Stanton. I think it was just like a phenomenal move. It just makes our lineup that more deadly. We didn't really need to get that more deadly, but now we are. We still have a ton of youth, all over the place. Greg Bird's going to be healthy this year. He had an awesome postseason, locking down first base. I really like him. And, as long as the pitching, it's similar to the Dodgers where if the pitching does well, we're going to be very good. We have a phenomenal bullpen. Aroldis Chapman, and a candidate for one of the best closers in the game, and then Betances and Roberson behind him, very, very solid. So these pitchers just got to get to the sixth inning, and Gray, Tanaka, Sabathia, guys that are older and need to stay healthy and continue. And then we got Severino, the young ace, and probably Jordan Montgomery will be the other starter. I would think. I like Jordan Montgomery. I like them all, but that's where we could not do well. If those guys don't pitch well, we get some injuries and we have to go deeper into the chest and bring up some young kids. But if the pitching holds up, I think it's going to be a really good year. It's going to be hard to beat us. And, that batting order is just going to be amazing. It's not just like the studs, but what it does for Brett Gardner leading off. Like nobody's going to want to walk him. And he's a guy that gets a lot of walks, Didi Gregorius, he batted cleanup last year. I doubt he'll be batting cleanup this year, but he'll probably bat fifth, and he'll probably be like right after Sanchez, Judge, and Stan. So he's going to have guys on base all the time, and then Aaron Hicks, that's a guy I think could have a real breakout season, because of having guys on base all the time and, in good situations. So I have a lot of faith in this year, and, I expect us to be fighting for a World Series at the end. It's going to be fun. It could be Dodgers Yankees this year like we were hoping for last year.
Yeah, that'd be great. I think that when you have a guy like Jacoby Ellsbury to come off the bench, that's just a great weapon. And you brought up Greg Bird. That's the guy. I think, last year he was the guy that was supposed to be Aaron Judge. He was the guy with all the Judge barely made the team. That's what everybody forgets.
Yep.
Judge barely made the team last year, and then he blew up, and Bird was the guy that was supposed to blow up, and he didn't. He had a bad start. They sent him down. They brought him back up, and he blew up in the second half in the
playoffs. And he got hurt. He got hurt.
He got hurt.
He missed, broke a leg, I believe. And
was so they bring him. So now Greg Bird if he blows up in that offense,
Yeah,
it's just going to be
like the number 7 or 8 hitter.
When we're going to be okay. So what Yankees can we get in our lineups when we're doing our stacks? You're going to be getting contrarian by, well, I'm fading Judge and Stanton, but I'm playing everybody else around him. Something like that. And I mean, we were joking when we first started, Paulie, when we were saying, well, what are we going to do? And you're just like, I'm going to pick the 2 cheapest pitchers and stack the Yankees
every day.
And you know what? It's going to be, it's one of those, you should maybe just throw a lineup like that in there every day. Just do one of those and see what happens, because you know that they're going to blow up a lot of days. Obviously, the only thing that's going to stop the Yankees, I think, is health. And we know that Stanton does have a history of getting hurt. And I don't know if they're going to be able to play as much as they played last year, both of them. But if they do, boy. But what do you think now? The debate this days is, now that JD Martinez has signed with Boston, who has the better lineup? Because you got Betts, you got Benintendi, you got now you got JD, you got I'm missing some other guys. I just don't have them in my head right now. But they brought up a very good lineup too.
Bogarts, Jackie Bradley Jr. That kid Devers, he was a rookie. He hit really well when he first came up.
Christian Vasquez.
Ramirez is still on the team. Mitch Moreland. Yeah. Edwin Nunez, is he still on the team?
Eduardo Nunez, yeah. That's a good lineup too. It's going to be interesting. The East, they're going to probably just say the Red Sox or the Yankees. Is there anybody else in the East you think that could?
Well, Tampa Bay's given up. I mean, they just dumped everybody, so they're out of it. Toronto, they probably don't have the pitching. And last year, they were, one of the better offensive feared teams, team that you stacked a lot of power with. But I don't know what moves they've made. I know they got Granderson and Randall Grichuk, but it's virtually the same team. Smoke, Kendrys Morales, Josh Donaldson, that's the core of the team, and I don't think that's enough. And then their pitching staff is not very good, and so I don't think they're a contender. And then Baltimore could be, they've got some dangerous bats for sure, but their pitching staff is just not very good, and I don't think their bullpen is either. So it's probably going to be the Red Sox and Yankees battling it out.
And the Orioles could trade Machado at any moment.
You think they're going to do that? You don't think they want to pay him and keep him? They're going to trade him?
I mean, if they don't think that they can re-sign him, I think they'll try and trade him. But I think that with the Blue Jays, they could be sellers too. This next coming off season is going to be the biggest, because you have Harper, you have Machado, you got so it's just it's crazy. But let's get into a little DFS, just a little bit of DFS talk.
All right.
And then we'll get back to a little bit more strategy or more, predictions and talking about teams and stuff like that. First of all, thank you guys all for joining us. We really appreciate it. Be sure to stick around after this. We do have an NBA podcast coming up with, I believe, Cash and CK. Yeah. So, but I'm going to talk about real quick, guys, cash game strategy real quick. I brought this up in the site. If you remember on the site, it's in one of the first videos. It was, that was one of my first videos. It was really bad, but the thought process was there. Okay. So when you're playing cash games, guys, in baseball, it's just like in any other sport. You're trying to look for, the most optimal lineup, the safest choices, just like in football and basketball and golf and MMA and NASCAR. You're trying to look for the safest choices. So, you want to, obviously, selecting a pitcher, you're going to want to select a guy with a high strikeout per 9. You're going to want to get a guy facing a team with a high strikeout per 9. You're going to, the cash game pitchers basically kind of stick out at you. Don't you agree, Paulie? They kind of just jump out at you. Like Kershaw's pitching tonight, he's playing cash.
Yep.
It's real simple. It's the other guys. You're like, okay, I have a 15 game slate. How am I going to narrow this down? Okay, so this is just a general outline, guys. It's not something that you have to stick to every single day because somebody will tell you, oh, you got to play Gary Sanchez every day in cash. And I ain't playing Gary Sanchez in cash. I very rarely play Gary Sanchez in cash. My general way is, and get your pens down, guys. This is really good. It's real simple. Okay, guys. What I want you to do when you're trying to get your cash game lineup selection is I want you to pay down a catcher. Now, what I mean by paying down a catcher is I want you something below 2,500, 26, 2,700, maybe 2,000 if you can get something. This is FanDuel pricing now. We're talking about paying down a catcher, paying down at second base and shortstop and at least one outfield position. There's been statistics shown most fantasy points come from first base, third base, and the outfield. Okay, so those are the positions that you're going to want to pay up at. Those are the positions, you got the Stanton, the Judge, you have, Bellinger playing first, you have third baseman, you got Donaldson, you got Machado. You know what I'm talking about. But then you got the guys, the catchers that are $2,000, or the outfielder, Kike Hernandez is $2,000. Those are the guys that you're going to want to put in your cash game lineups that aren't going to get you 10x, but they're going to get you what you need, and it's going to afford you to get in Stanton or Judge, Scherzer or the pitchers. So, and like I said, it's just a basic outline to start at. That doesn't mean that you can't pay up at shortstop, because there's going to be some days where you're going to want a guy like Correa. You're going to want a guy, or like second base, you're going to want Altuve. I mean, Altuve is someone that is a very safe option. You're just going to have to find value somewhere else. And, that's why it's good in the cash game article that I wrote last year, and we're going to have whoever writes it this year, they're going to have a value section where you're going to be able to go down and you're going to see these are the guys at these positions that are at the value spots, kind of like, in your cheat sheets, Paulie, that you do, where you got, your values, the 6X guys, the same guys, how you start your process when you start your basketball process by putting in your value guys and then you build around it. This is almost the same way. You're just trying to find the values. Yes, the Reds catchers at home were a good target last year for sure. And it's, we had, what did we come up with second base? Cash game porn, Jed Lowry. Cash game porn.
Live final.
Yeah. So it's basically, that's just the basic outline when you come into cash games and you're trying to find, how do I start this lineup construction? So you need to add on anything on that, on the cash game side?
I just had a quick question. I mean, obviously you're following ownership as much as possible as well, but on DraftKings with the two pitchers, are you looking to get two studs or one stud and one value pitcher?
I'm trying to get one stud and one value pitcher. It just depends. I think it's slate dependent.
Sure.
But I think I'm trying to get one stud and one value pitcher, even if it's not even totally all the way down, even if it's almost like the mid range. I think that's when you really got to kind of get into your research and find that team that's been striking out a lot the last 30 days.
Yep.
You got to find that team that's been, can't hit where the dung against lefties, and so that's when you go with, and it's when you come to DraftKings, I play FanDuel primarily, but I do play DraftKings enough that it's basically when I won last year, that's when I won doing it. It was paying up at one pitcher and then paying down. But the way to get contrarian on DraftKings is paying up at both pitching spots.
Sure.
What do you think about? What's your general GPP?
So, GPP, baseball is one of the most variant sports, and that's something you just embrace for baseball. It's,
You're right.
When, in basketball, when you follow the chalk, you will cash most of the time, but it's very hard to beat a field of 60% guys on the same plays. You have to have 9 perfect roster spots. But when in baseball, you fade the chalk and that chalk busts. Say it's a pitcher, everyone's going to Kershaw. He's 60% owned and he gets lit up. 60% of the field is gone. It's a lot easier to beat fields of 40% and so on. So I think being contrarian in tournaments is the way to go. Obviously, pitching is king. For me, it's there's no pay up or pay down rule. It's just where can you get the most value? You don't have to get the expensive pitcher. If you can find a pitcher for $6K that's going to get you a 50 or 60 point score, that really opens up a ton of value with your hitters. Then you can afford 4, 5, 6 good hitters and approach the field that way. Baseball's all about stacking. Depending on slate size, 4x4, 3x3x2, 4x3x1, but you want to have those correlations where, the first batter walks, steals second batter hits a double, drives him in, they intentionally walk the fourth hitter, and then big guy hits a 3-run home run, and you get all those runs, RBIs, all that together. So in baseball, you're always going to be stacking, and, you're going to be taking into consideration the weather, the stadium, the bullpen strength. There's all those factors that come down to who you end up running with. And, being contrarian is definitely the way to win some of those large field tournaments. On DraftKings, again, pitching is king. So getting those 2 pitchers right. And if you can find 2 cheap ones that you nail, it can really open up some high scores and tournament winning performances.
I want to go back to what you said about variance, and it's weird with baseball. I understand variance 1,000%. Mm-hmm. It is the easiest time to fade somebody, and just knowing that I'm okay with fading Mike Trout in Colorado with the wind blowing out because it can happen. He could still go 0 for 4. For some reason, it's hard for me to wrap my head around Le'Veon Bell going at home playing against the worst rushing defense, but yet for some reason he'll still bust. Like I can't fade that concept. And in basketball, it's hard to fade the guy that is going to get 40 minutes. It's hard for me, but in baseball, you embracing the variance and knowing that you can just. It's okay to fade anybody. It's really there's must plays. There are must plays. I'm not saying there's not, but like to say that if you're gonna fade him, I'm gonna be like you're stupid. No way, not in baseball.
So I'll give you an example. Right at the live final last year, it was a strange slate. It was a Sunday slate, and it was like 8 games, and Kluber was by far
the only pitcher. That's
only good pitcher on the slate, and he ended up being 82% owned. And I faded him that day, and I went with another pitcher, and Kluber had the best performance, but not by much. And although I didn't pick a good team, if I had, I would have had a very good chance at winning that thing because my pitcher point per dollar way outscored Kluber that day, and I could have afforded bats that no one else had. It's just those bats did not do well on that particular day. But, it was the right move, point per dollar, if I picked the right pitcher that outscored him in terms of point per dollar. And then the expensive bats had to pay off. That day it didn't. The value bats went off. And, I didn't do well at the live final. But that's a situation where, even in that where I'm playing for $250,000 against 100 people, like, the most important lineup, and you still, I faded Kluber and, would have had a chance to do well had the bats done well.
Yeah, it's something. It's funny. We did these shows so much last year that we knew each other's tendencies so well. I would just be like, it'd be like, no, Paulie's fading him. I can tell you right now, Paulie's fading him. And you'd come in here and ask me because I would always you'd kind of get me as I'm on this guy, and this guy. And you'd almost know that's where probably a lot of the public's going too.
Yep.
So we would get.
You were the money at identifying the chalk, what the right plays that day were. The Patio Joe play of the day, it felt like hit a home run every single time. And it took me too long to realize that and just start playing your play. Because it's all right to have 1 or 2 chalky guys in your lineup. Not everyone has to be contrarian. But the build or the pitcher, some part of it, you want to be contrarian. And, Cash and DFS likes to stack the Padres, a team that nobody plays. That's how he gets contrarian. So there's many ways to be contrarian, and you don't have to be 100% contrarian. But this year, I will be playing the Patio Joe play of the day every single day and just locking that home run. It's nice.
My contrarian ways, and it works for me, is I like doing a American League 8-9-1 stack, like bottom of the order, wrap around, something like that. Because you got a couple value guys, and then road teams. The Astros. Oh my God!
No, but the road team you guaranteed at bat extra, so you can bat the guys further down. The home team, if they win, they're not going to get that ninth inning at bat. So the road teams, you can play those guys.
Yes, I mean the Astros last year were just so profitable. You had the bottom of the lineup when they had Bregman, bottom of the lineup, or Marwin Gonzalez, and they'd wrap it around with, Altuve, so you're paying down, then you're paying up, and Springer. It was just, it's awesome, and I can't wait for it. It's just it's really great, and just to let you know, guys. Right now, the nation, we got the MLB package is full season for $174.99, $175. But not only, if you sign up right now, you get $50 off, so it's about $125, and you get the rest of the the NBA package for the rest of the season. So that's the next 2 months, and then we got playoffs that literally last 3 years.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, very long.
Yeah, I don't even want to talk about literally. They'll have game 1 will be on a Friday night, and then they won't play game 2 until the next Thursday. And you're like, wait, dude, what the
There's just too many.
Yeah,
half the NBA makes the playoffs. Literally half the NBA.
Yeah, I just don't every other night. You're playing every other night. That's what I'm doing. Boom, 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 boom until it's over.
Mm-hmm.
Get it over with. It's basketball, anyways. That's what I keep saying.
Hey man, basketball's been very profitable.
I know. Hey,
I like basketball a lot.
Hey guys, I gotta say this, man. You basketball guys have really, honestly, it warms my heart when I go into the chat at 7:30 in the morning and they're talking about the slate. I just love it. I love it. Basketball is a great sport for DFS.
Yeah,
basketball and baseball really, really capture the whole daily aspect of daily fantasy sports. Football, man, paralysis by overanalysis, man. You now analyze the shit out of it, and you just can't get the right, you do too much. But baseball, it's you lose, boom, let's go on to the next slate. Tomorrow, got to do it. But that being said, I'm going to go into my process a little bit, and then we'll go into your process a little bit, and then we'll take any questions, and then we'll get on out of here. Maybe talk a little more about what's going on with the MLB. I am pretty old-fashioned, and I like to use all right, hold on a second, guys. Let me go back to that promo. Just got a text here from our man CK. Remember, if you sign up right now, get the $50 discount, but you need to use the promo code Early Owl MLB with no spaces, not with just Early Owl MLB, not with no spaces. You get what I mean? That was a joke. Anyway, so Early Owl MLB, 3 words all together. Early Owl MLB, and that will get you $50 off. Okay, you got that? All right. Back to saying. All right. So, let me get into my process here a little bit.
Old-fashioned.
Okay, so my old-fashioned way. All right, guys. So I'm trying to look for. Here, I have 10 of them. Literally, let me see if I can find one of them. I want to actually show people what I did. I literally have 20 of these little notebooks. Over here, let me see. Nope. Anyways, keep talking, Paulie.
I think what Joe is trying to do is show you paper and pen.
Oh, I found it. Boom. All right. Okay, guys, I'm back. Okay, guys, here we go. So, guys, right here, look, I have a little notepad. It's like, I don't know, 5x10 or 5x8. Okay, so, and you see literally what I do is I will go to MLB Savant, I'll go Baseball Savant, I'll go to Labs or whatever. I'll go to hopefully we'll have a starting lineups page on the Wise Take page. And what I do is I go to the next day, for instance. So I go to the next day and I literally write out sort of, you could see here. Let's see here. We have right-handed pitchers, left-handed pitchers. And I write out the pitcher's name and who they're facing. And I go to the whole slate. And I realize it's kind of monotonous, okay? But it's me writing down the names in my head. And I'm starting to get in who's pitching against who before I even start what lineups what websites I'm going to. And I realized you could print this stuff out, and I understand that. But me writing it out for myself, I'm starting to understand more about who's pitching where. And so now when the game's going on and I'm learning and I know the names already and I know who's starting, I don't have to look at anything because I'm writing it. It's a study method that you do for studying for school. You're writing things out. It's just better. So that's what I do. So then, after going to Baseball Savant, I will look at BVP, look at who has good BVP against whatever pitchers, write down a few names, just look at it. Doesn't have to see it. And when it comes to BVP, I'm going to look at number of at-bats. I want to look at exit velocity too. I want to see, this guy might have 50 at-bats against this guy, and he might only be hitting 250, but his exit velocity is 95 or 100 miles an hour. So he's hitting him hard. So that doesn't mean to disqualify him because he's only hitting 250 against this guy.
Real quick on BVP, for me, like one of the main things I'm looking for is the strikeout to walk ratio. And, low strikeouts and equal or more walks means he sees the pitcher well, so like good things are to come. Like it's not just, and I want some sample size, like three for 5. That's not enough. Like I want at least 15 at bats or more, so it's a true sample.
Yeah. So, like when I'm writing down these names, I might have good BVP or whatever. I might write them down, and then I'm gonna go to FanGraphs, and I'm just gonna start looking up at FanGraphs certain sites. I want to look at WOBA. That's a good WRC plus. That's what I want to look at. For pitchers, I'm looking at strikeouts per 9 on FanDuel. Strikeouts per 9 are the biggest because you get the most points. You get 3 points for a strikeout plus the point for the out. So you want guys that are going to give you a lot of strikeouts, and you only get minus 3 points per run. So think about it. If a guy gives up 3 runs, but he strikes out 10, I'll take that.
Oh, yeah. Especially if he gets the win.
Especially if he gets the win. And then in FanDuel, they get 3 points for a quality start and 7 for the win, correct? That was last year.
I don't remember.
I think that was it. It was either 3. It was either 6 or 4 or 3 or 7.
6 for the win for sure.
6 for that was So, so basically, I'm looking at splits though against WOBA. Like I'm looking for WOBAs versus left-handers. So now I'm looking. Okay, so who's facing a left-hander today? Okay, so the Orioles are facing a left-hander. Now I'm going to look at who has the highest WOBA against left-handers on that team. And then we like to go to a site called Add More Funds, and we're basically looking at pitch selection and what the pitcher of that day, what he throws the most, what he gets hit the most, hits the hardest. And then we're looking at those hitters, who hits the slider the best, because this pitcher is terrible at throwing the slider, but he still throws it 30% of the time. You know what I'm saying? So this is the guy we want to attack. So it's breaking down. It frustrates me when people don't believe in BVP, but yet they do the exact same thing that we just did. We're just breaking down BVP even to it's like breaking the drug down into a more like common, element. You know what I'm saying? It's like breaking the rock down to the powder. You know what I'm saying? Yes. We're so bad. But yeah, I mean, that's just my basic process. And then as I keep writing names down, I'll see, This is another. So I'll circle the name. So now I have it. There's a couple times I'll circle it. Ooh, I'm seeing this guy's name a lot. So it starts to form. These are the guys I really want to start. I want to form my lineup around. Now, granted, there's going to be some days where we're like, dude, I don't know. Let's, Bruce Chen is playing against the Yankees in Yankee Stadium. There's not much, you know, research we're going to do. We're going to want Stanton, Judge, Gardner. You know what I mean? Just throw them in there. But there are some days, especially where you're going to, how you win those GPPs is getting that guy, that 2% owned guy that nobody knows, and he goes off for 30 points or something like that. He hits 3 home runs. Anthony Rendon last year heading those games. I mean, there are days where it will be where if you didn't have Rendon, you're not going to win. If you didn't have that guy, you're not going to win, just like any sport. Yep. Tell us about, your process, Paulie. How does it differ a little bit? I know it probably differs a little bit, but.
I mean, it's fairly similar. So, I spend probably 80% of the time on the pitchers, really looking for a cheaper pitcher that can get me a monster performance, looking at his recent stats versus his longer-term stats, and I'm looking for a positive crossover. Over the last 2 years, he has a 7.9 K per 9, but in the last 30 days, it's 9.2. So it's all right, there's an improvement here. And then looking at the team that he's facing, the projected lineup, and how they do versus his pitch repertoire, and trying to take the most positive looking matchup that that it has to offer. Obviously, you're looking for the strikeouts. Playing a team that will likely win the game can help, because you have a better shot at getting the win and the quality start. And then bullpens, making sure that lead won't get blown, or that, the other team's not going to come back after he gets taken out. So all those factors go into it. And then lineups, and it's the same thing for the reverse. Which batters are facing a pitcher that they hit well against? And that was probably the number one upgrade to my game last year, was doing the, individual lineup assessments. All right, which hitter, all right, I want to play the Yankees today, and they're facing a right-hander who throws a ton of sliders. Which hitters, righty or left, hit the slider the best? And then are they stacked together in the lineup? And I don't need them to be. I don't have to stack 3, 4, 5, or 8, 9, 1. I can stack 1, 3, 6, 7, or any different combination. But I'm looking for the guys that do the best against that pitcher style, and then whatever pitchers may come behind in the out of the bullpen, and trying to pair them up together and take advantage of all the goodness all together. But most important thing is that you're stacking guys together. On the larger slates, a full 15 game, you can reduce the amount. I don't mind doing 3x3 by 1 by 1 or 3x3 by 2. But on smaller slates, you got to go 4x4, and you got to capture the 1 or 2 teams that are going to put up the most numbers. And that's really the way to get. It's very hard to pick 8 different guys on different teams that are going to do well. But if you capture, a stack of a team that scores 7 or more runs, you're going to do pretty well most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, last year, I will say this, I was seeing stacking more and more in cash games from some pretty, I would call them degenerates. I don't even want to talk about them, but some professionals that you will play, they were stacking in cash games last year a lot. So it's a viable to stack in cash too, because if it hits, you hits. Galtsav, what's up? Welcome. It's good that you're in the chat. Thank you for joining us. Let's get back a little bit to me, I feel like spring training, I really am not really paying attention to what guys are doing the first couple weeks. I'm not, last week of the season, I want to see a guy locked in. I want to see, pitchers that the velocities is there. I'm not asking for, 100%.
You don't care how many strikeouts, but you just want to see that the velocity's there.
The velocity's there, and hopefully maybe they stretch him out a little bit. And I want to know if you want like a leg up to try and know the value guys to help your process going into the season. I want to know the platoon situations on each team. I want to know what guys are going to be playing when a lefty's playing. The Dodgers, for instance. I want to know when Kike Hernandez, is a lefty pitching. Kike Hernandez is going to be playing. So you know that maybe Kike is an option in cash today for the outfield spot right away. So it helps you with your process right away. But there's not much else I'm going to take from spring training. I'm gonna watch it. It's nice to get it back, and it's great, and it's good to see guys playing well. But take it for what it is, and just realize that hopefully the last week of spring training, watch that, see who guys are hot coming out of spring training, because it does carry over. And anything else on spring training you watch for?
No, I mean, just wanted to know the rotations, pitching wise, who's going to be that fifth starter for certain teams, how the velocities look on the arms, hitters. Mm-hmm. I like them to be hitting well, but it really doesn't matter. And for me this year, I'm going to have my eye on Ohtani just to see what he is. He's unknown, and I want to know for my season long leagues how high I want to grab him, and what are his strengths, what to expect out of him. He's things like that. The guys, I'm looking at young guys, which young guys may make a team and what kind of impact are they going to make. Last year, Marcus Thames on the Brewers, he had a pretty strong spring and had a super hot April, and we were on him early. From watching him in the preseason, a guy that we didn't know how he was going to convert, but he started hitting right away, and it was we knew he was going to be good.
Mm-hmm. And he tailed off. Now, the thing, though, it was good. It was good to have him in the beginning because he kind of got the book out of him. Mm-hmm. Other storylines this spring kind of know about. Angels lowered their right field wall 10 feet, so that should help left-handed hitters at Angel Stadium to hit more home runs. That should help. A
little. I don't think that'll be a massive change.
No.
I still think Angels Park's a major pitching park.
Yes. Arizona has adopted the humidor. So that's a big, controversial topic. I still think it's going to be a hitter's park. So I'm not saying don't in your seasonal leagues. I'm not saying in your games don't play the D-backs. I actually think it's going to help the Diamondbacks pitchers more than hurt the Diamondbacks hitters.
So, that's something I'll be looking at in preseason to see the effect. And early on,
it's going to be in Arizona, though.
Right. In Arizona.
The actual stadium.
In the stadium. So we may not get too many chances. So that's something in the spring you watch. I compare that to last year at Braves in a new stadium that was a very offensive park.
Freeman Field.
Yeah. Turner Park used to be a pitcher's park, and I was jumping on Brave stacks early, a team that's not very good, but their park made their offense a lot better, and there was a ton of good games there, and it took the general public, a while to adjust to this is a good park, because it wasn't it wasn't expected to be as good an offensive park as it ended up being due to some of the the crosswinds and whatever, but it ended up being a very offensive park, and that was something we jumped on early as well. So whatever things are changing, you want to pay attention to be ahead of the curve and taking advantage of it.
And I think the Braves need to sign Mike Moustakas. Lefty. Mm-hmm. They need a third baseman. Lefty in that park with Freeman. I mean, keep Freeman at first.
Mm-hmm.
And remember this. I will say this. A former Y-Stake employee did give us this one tip that Colorado teams leaving Colorado. Remember that? Mm-hmm. Teams leaving Colorado. The first game at their new wherever they're playing. Stack against them or pitch, get their pitching, because their hitters bat speeds are slower for one game.
Yep.
So that's
it turned out to be pretty true.
It did. It really, really did. It was right on. It was kind of crazy how it worked. But yeah, it's interesting. There was also some other things going on this spring. We have the thought about if a team is down by down in the ninth inning, the pitcher or the manager could send up any three hitters to start off the ninth, which I think is
That's
Just
not going to pass for this year.
no. They're trying to reinvent the wheel, and baseball. It is what it is, and I just think that they need to leave it. I did not see one person complain that the World Series was boring this year. I don't remember reading that article. Even though I'm a Dodger fan, I don't think it was there. I will argue with anybody that Game 5 of the World Series this year was better than the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah.
Game 5 of the World Series, where the Dodgers were up by twice by 4 runs and gave it up and then came back only to lose. And remember, I'm a Dodger fan, and I still said Game 5 was better than the Super Bowl this year. And the Super Bowl was really good too. I don't want to take anything away, but don't say that World Series last year was amazing. And to say that I think the Astros, to me, the Astros are still the team to beat. They got Garrett Cole, who's from what I've heard, he could be the dark horse this year. You put him with Verlander, McCullers, and who else? Who else was it? Yeah, Keuchel. I mean, Springer and Correa haven't even reached their peak yet. That's my thing with them.
Yeah, that lineup is very, very good.
Bregman, people don't realize Bregman had such a bad start last year because he was at the WBC, and it took him so long to get back in the swing of things. But yet in the World Series, he played so clutch. And you can't forget that degenerate Gurriel, who can, you know what, he's an ass, but god damn. Man,
that is a very good team.
I mean, it's hard to pick against them, at least going into it again. They got the confidence, they got the pitching. What they need now is probably they got Jake Marisnick, and they need a closer. Ken Giles proved that he couldn't do it. That's the thing. Their bullpen could be their Achilles heel. They didn't do it. I'm trying to think of other teams that could rise up. I think the Indians you can't sleep on.
Oh my God, what a good team that is.
Yeah, the Indians. They can come back. Obviously, Altuve is. Lothario, Altuve is awesome too. I mean, there's that you don't even you say Correa and Springer, and we forget about Altuve, who's probably the best hitter on that.
Best hitter on the team. Yeah.
You know, it's just it's tough. You want to say what the Yankees are doing is great, what the Red Sox doing is great, but they're all chasing the Astros. Even the Dodgers are chasing the Astros. And who else do you think in the National League? I mean, the Cubs could come back.
Yeah, definitely the Cubs. They got Darvish, so that staff is pretty solid. Quintana, Hendricks, Darvish, Lester. Bullpen probably could use some work, but Rizzo, Baez, Schwarber, Chris Bryant, Wilson, they have a pretty solid team.
For you guys playing seasonal leagues, guys, I just want to let you know, check to see Anthony Rizzo's position eligibility, because he's at second base on Yahoo too.
Really?
So that makes him literally almost a top 5 pick to me, because you could play him now at second base or at first. So
why don't before we get out of here, we'll run through each position for a season long, who are your top 2 players at each position.
All right. Yeah, I even do my own rankings, so I got that going. Let me find the right book I got here. Milwaukee's another team I think that could make some noise in the Central.
They definitely improved.
Yeah, they definitely have improved with I know Wisco, and of course Cam loves him.
Loves the Brewers.
From their Milwaukee fan.
Who did they go out and got? They got
Yelich. They got Lorenzo Cain.
And
didn't they get a pitcher too?
I'm looking. No, it doesn't really look like they got a pitcher.
No.
That's really where they're weakest right now. It's Chase Anderson, Zach Davies, Chacin, Suter, and Jimmy Nelson, who I believe is hurt right now. But
Jules Chacin?
Yeah, looks like
Jules Chacin went to He's not in San Diego anymore? I
Jay
didn't know that.
Shashin. Let me take a quick,
Let me see.
make
Is that
sure
the
it's
same
him.
Chassis?
Yep, it is that Shashin.
Wow, he was so good in San Diego. Why didn't they want to keep him? San
San
Diego got
Diego's
Hosmer.
made a lot of moves. They had a
Yeah.
lot of moves this year. So.
San Francisco got Longoria and McCutcheon. They'll be improved.
Yep.
I think the West, believe it or not, the Dodgers won't have as many wins this year. The West is better. Colorado has trying to break. They've given up in trying to find starting pitching. They're just trying to shorten the game and get the best bullpen they can. So and then Arizona they lost JD, they picked up Souza, but Greinke and Ray with Goldie, they're going to be in it too. The West is a strong.
Yeah. Pollock healthy from the start. That he'll have a good season, bounce back year.
Yeah. Here's a team. I think I kind of agree with somebody in the chat, Lothario. Philly. I think that they're up and coming. I don't want to say that they got Carlos Santana, which is a good addition. The guy I think that needs to show up in Philly. This is his make or break here. Is Maikel Franco. If this is his year, if he don't do it this year, he done because they're going to try to go after Machado or somebody.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, Aaron Nola emerged last year. Vince Velasquez is like a young dark horse who could emerge. Rhys Hoskins, came on.
Hoskins, that's the guy everybody loves.
Adabel Herrera, Nick Williams was a good rookie for them last year. So they're on their way up. I don't know if they'll be like a playoff contender this year, but they're definitely on the way up.
I mean, they can be third.
Yeah, I mean the Nationals are going to be tough for sure.
Nationals will win. Nationals will win the East again. They might even sign Arrieta. If they sign Arrieta, they could go to the World Series. And you got Harper. Here's the thing: you have Harper in a contract year.
Yeah.
He hasn't done it in the last few years. This is his year to do it. You better do it if you want to get the money you think you're going to get. Your $400 million. All right. So you wanted to go over some of the top plays.
Yeah. So give me your top pitcher, and then like a guy, like a value guy that you think is going to improve this year.
Okay. So my top. This is more of like seasonal league. So guys, it's not totally 100%, but I got a couple right now. My top three pitchers in this order go Kluber, Scherzer, and Kershaw. And the reason why I put Kershaw as third is just because the last 2 years he's missed a month with his back.
Yep.
And I'm going to dock him for that. The guy that I think that could make the big jump this year for me is Luis Castillo out of the Reds. That's the guy I think if they can let the training wheels off and let him go, let him pitch more. Don't give him an innings restriction. Let him pitch. I like Luis Castillo. He is in my rankings. He's like top 25 pitcher for me. So he's like the most youngest. I also think if another guy if he can stay healthy, he might dominate. There's two guys. One, James Paxton, and another guy that we love here at the Nation, Mr. Zach Godley.
Yeah, and I really like Paxton. He got injured late in the year, but he was doing well in Seattle. It's interesting. I have the same feeling. Like in season longs, I'm not going to be going after these Scherzer, Kershaw, Sale, Strasburg. Kluber's the only one that like if he's there, I'll grab. I think he's the most like reliable, less risk to get hurt. Impressive. But I like the mid tier a lot better. And like guys that I'm targeting, you mentioned Castillo, he's definitely one. But Syndergaard and Robbie Ray are like the two guys I want most. Storer was unhittable at times, and he's going to be healthy now, and that guy throws 100 miles per hour. And Robbie Ray, like that guy's got 10 plus strikeout upside every time he starts. And I do like the Paxton call. I think he's going to do really well this year also.
And don't forget, late in your drafts, maybe last round, if you're trying to look for the smooth sounds
of Chad Cool.
of Chad Cool.
Is he still on the Pirates?
He's still on the Pirates. That's right. Chad Cool, Songbird.
What about catchers?
For those of you that don't know, every time Chad Cool played a pitch
versus a lot of righties,
we would play this song because it's the smooth sounds. Chad Cool. It's where you lay down with your lady and you start watching Chad Cool pitch on the rubber. That's what you do. Smooth sounds of Chad Cool. All right. Let's move on to catcher. Catcher for me, it's either Posey or Sanchez up at top, and then a guy that I'm looking at maybe as a dark horse would be Austin Barnes of the Dodgers. He came on as of late, so it's definitely I like those. There's nobody else really. It's catcher's kind of a dead kind of position. I'm not really looking at. You got Gary Goat and you got Posey. My seasonal outlook on that, I usually just punt catcher.
Yeah, sure. That's like if you can get Gary Sanchez, great. Other than that, I take somebody really late. I like the Barnes call a lot. Although like Grandal being there may take away from him getting like a ton of innings, but I guess Sal Perez on the Royals, it would be like the mid-level guy that I'd have interest in.
Yeah.
First base, what a deep position, man.
To me, it's like I think the number one first baseman though, it's like Joey Votto. He's just like this lock him in. Like when it comes to all. Just like the safe, like year by year, if you're doing seasonal leagues, he has basically all of, the categories that you want. I love Freddie Freeman, obviously, Hoskins, and of course my boy Bellinger. He's going to be playing all first base next year or this year. And then maybe a little bit of a sleeper would be Josh Bell from the Pirates.
Sure. I don't mind him.
He can come up. What about you?
Me, it's Freddie Freeman for sure. My number one first baseman. I know there's Goldie out there, but I want Freddie this year. I think he's going to have a monster year. And my sleepers are Matt Olson, Oakland, and Greg Bird, Yankees.
Greg Bird, yeah, he could shock a lot of people. We brought him up earlier. Thames, I like Thames, but he kind of just tailed off as of late. And I think the book's out on him a little bit. So second base, Altuve. It starts with Altuve. Obviously, we talked about Rizzo for Yahoo, so that makes him good. But I like Jose Ramirez too. He's just nails.
Oh, he was awesome.
Guy, don't forget about. He had a great year last year. Is also Jonathan Scope, and then at the bottom, Chris Taylor, obviously.
Sure. For me, I'm with the Jose Ramirez, Altuve, obviously, but Brian Dozier is a high-end guy that I really like. Was very impressed with. And Ronald Odor, Texas, is like the mid-level cheaper guy that I would like to get my hands on.
What do you think about, the Twins? They made the wild card last year. People forget that. They're a scrappy team. I'm telling you, I remember last year, they had some great stacking opportunities last year. I remember stacking the Twins a lot.
Oh yeah.
That ballpark is a underrated hitter's ballpark,
Absolutely.
And so I guys, put the Twins down. I'm telling you, they were very profitable last year. Sure. I love it. I love this. The more we talk about last year, it's really starting to get the gears going. You know what I'm saying? Like you're starting to remember more strategies and what teams were really, really were really profitable, which ones you wanted to stay away from and stuff like that. And that's just, guys playing DFS baseball. I'll tell you what, man, last year I've never been more locked in to, the way it is. And
knowledge. I know.
It's just crazy. And then knowing what's going down also on the farm can't help. I mean, it can't hurt. It'll help you just knowing who's who, you know what I'm saying? And if they get called up, if he's any good, like obviously Otani's the bit of the talk of the town, but everybody loves Ronald Acuna. That's the guy everybody is.
Braves. Everyone's
Braves. So don't sleep on Ozzy Albies at second too. He's a very, very good player. Let's move on to shortstop. It's another deep position. You know, guys, I tell you not to pay up at shortstop, but sometimes you can. I think that's the one position that's like the next place I would go. You got guys like Carlos Correa, who I don't think he's even touched his potential yet. And Trey Turner, love him. Obviously Seager's good. But at the more of the sort of like down at the bottom, I mean, you have guys that are like multi-positions, so you can go where you want to go. A guy like Javi Baez, I love. And a guy like Eduardo Nunez. You know, on Yahoo, Eduardo Nunez is at second base, third base, shortstop, and outfield. You know, that helps you, you know, or Marwin Gonzalez is at first base, second base, third base, shortstop, and outfield. Yep. That's valuable. That's a valuable player.
Eligibility, absolutely.
Yes, it helps you because it'll afford you to draft more pitchers when you know you have a guy that can play multiple positions. Somebody gets hurt, you just slide him in there, and that. Who do you like at short?
So I'm with you at the top with Correa or Lindor. You didn't mention I really like.
No, I didn't make Lindor. I like Lindor. Yeah.
Very impressed with him, and obviously Trey Turner. He stole 50-something bases. Like he's incredibly valuable because he can hit for power and average, score runs, and steal bases. And like the mid-level guy for me is going to be Didi Gregorius. You're going to get him super late, and he's just, you know, he hit 20+ home runs, and he's just in a better situation now. So he's a guy that I'll take in late in drafts for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, third base. You know, Arenado. You know, playing where he's playing until he gets out of there. You got to he's the number one third baseman, and I don't know why he would leave. Other guys, though, it's funny. Like I look at the projections and stuff like that. There's like a big gap. You know, Chris Bryant is there, but just because of that whole Coors effect, Freeman actually has position eligibility on Yahoo. Other guys I like probably down below, you know, Bregman. I'm a Bregman mark. I love him. There's the guys that we love. I think if Miguel Sano can trim a few pounds and stop putting his hands on photographers, I think that might help. And you know, Scooter Gennett. Remember Scooter?
4 home run day.
Yes. Scooter. He's interesting. And yeah. I also said Maikel Franco. I think that this is his make or break year.
Yep.
So what do you got at third?
You know, so Arenado at the top, but very close is Donaldson and Machado.
Mm-hmm.
And in the mid tier, you give me Brandon Drury, Yankees. Like, what an upgrade for that kid. And he's probably going to start and, you know, play there as much as he can.
Crush lefties.
Yeah,
he's just going to crush
his lefties. You know, like it's almost, you know, a park improvement. And, you know, he's just always going to be getting up. Like,
where's he batting, though?
He's probably going to bat 8th, 7th, or 8th, I would assume. Like, you know, there's a lot of stars that got to get up before him, but, you know, he's still going to – the bottom of the Yankees order is going to be, you know, in a phenomenal spot all year because, you know, those guys are going to be getting walked and they're just, you know, constantly going to be getting pitches to hit. So I'm bullish on the bottom of the Yankees order because of all the fear. Like, those are the guys pitchers are going to, you know, give pitches to because they're not going to want to walk them.
Mm-hmm.
So Brandon Drury, you're going to get him super cheap, very late, and he could have a great season with the Yankees.
Yeah. Outfield is just absolutely loaded, but Mike Trout, obviously, he's still number one. Bryce Harper, we talked about him a little bit earlier. I think Bryce Harper, in a contract year, you have to be looking at him as wanting to make a mark.
So, like, what's your top 3? I guess Trout's number one. Would Harper be number two?
Yeah, Trout, Harper number two, and then I hate to say this, and I don't want to. It's so tough to pick a third guy because there's so many guys I like in number three. I'm just gonna go a little bit off the grid, just a little bit, and say George Springer.
That's fine.
You know,
Now,
it's not, and there's so many other guys that could be there. You know,
what about Judge or Stanton?
If I had to pick between the two,
yeah,
Aaron Judge.
Aaron Judge.
For one reason only. He hasn't been hurt yet. Right? Stanton has had years where he's been hurt. So, and I'm not, I probably won't draft him in any of the leagues I'm in, but if the value's there at the time, maybe. I still think, the big talk right now is Bellinger or Hoskins. People are saying Hoskins is just as good as Bellinger. And I don't know. I haven't watched Hoskins enough, but
it's possible.
It's possible. How about you? What are your top three?
So it's probably Trout, Stanton, JD Martinez. Like JD Martinez is an animal, and if he stays healthy in that park with those guys around him, wow. I'm so angry as a Yankees fan that they got him. I was hoping that was going to fall apart. I do like the Springer call. And some of the little bit deeper sleepers. I mean, you mentioned Rhys Hoskins. I'm bullish on him, and AJ Pollock. I'm mega bullish on.
He's just got to stay healthy.
Yeah, and I mean, last year was the first time he was ever injured. Came back and got right back in the swing of things. So I don't think he's an injury-prone guy. He's just he got hurt one time.
Yeah, I mean, Nelly Cruz obviously is great against lefties, so he's good. Yeah, said something before I wanted to go back to. I thought, anyways, I'll probably think of it some other time. But yeah, what about anybody else?
Outfield wise?
Yeah.
I
remember. JD Martinez.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the only negative I think about JD Martinez going to Boston. His power zone, where he hits most of his balls to, are right center.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the biggest part of the ballpark for Boston. That's my only semi-hesitation on JD reaching the heights. I'm not saying he can't. If I'm trying to find something against him. What'd you think of Dickerson being dropped? He's an all-star player that we stacked the Rays a lot last year.
Yeah, I mean, the Rays were like a home run or nothing team. And Dickerson had a great first half, a pretty bad end of the year. And, I guess they signed him in this offseason, 1 year, $6 million.
Yeah.
And I guess, ownership made a change in direction and decided they're going to rebuild. And, they just put him out there because they don't want to pay that salary and, got rid of everyone, essentially. Souza, Logan Morrison, that team's going to be terrible. But, we'll see where Dickerson ends up. But that's a kid with a ton of talent out there for sure.
All right, real quick, before we get on out of here, just give me a World Series prediction.
Yankees, Dodgers.
Yankees, Dodgers, all right. I'm going to go with Astros, Cubs.
Nice.
Just because I'm not saying the Dodgers can't get there. I try not to pick my team, and if they do, great,
Yeah.
There's a question in chat: Are the Rays getting rid of Archer? We talked about it a little bit. I think they will. I just think they're waiting for the right offer.
Yeah.
But it's only a matter of time.
Mid-season, if they don't before the season starts.
Yeah. So remember, Nation, the MLB full season package with the playoffs is here for $175. But if you sign up now, you get a $50 discount using the promo code Early Owl MLB. Early Owl MLB. You'll get the rest of the NBA season and the playoffs. That's Paulie D's cheat sheets. That's Cash. That's Cash's articles. That's BK's articles. That's Johnny's. It's Y streams. All that stuff. That's the chat room. Everything.
Yeah, and that deal's not going to be up forever. Probably another week.
It won't. It will only be up for a little bit. You want to get it before you come because obviously it's better just to get it now, get it out of the way, and get ready for the season. Remember, if you're watching on YouTube, click that thumbs up button, that like button, and subscribe to the channel. If you're listening on Podbean, give us a follow. We really appreciate it. And if you're listening on iTunes, give us some 5-star reviews. And of course, if you're listening on Facebook, please like and share us to the White Steak Nation. So that was fun. This was fun, Paulie. We went over an hour. I was like, how are we going to talk? Man, we just keep going. We can still keep talking, So we're just sitting here talking. So anyway, so Nation, I will be doing a little bit of NBA coming up, but MLB is quickly getting here. So we will be really excited to be giving you the best DFS content in the industry. So for Paulie D, I am Patio Joe. And as our man CK says, good luck. Good luck.
Yeah.